introducing myself. My name is Jackie Curtis, and this is Anton Perich Presents. But I wonder if I should address all these people. Hey, Ruth! Yeah, this is Ruth Clayton, the author of Love Affair.
Of Jackson Pollock.
Right. I'm supposed to be interviewing these people
Yes.
here. This is for Anton Perich Presents now. It makes me very nervous.
Why should it make you nervous?
Well, I've never done this before, and I
But
really
it's
want
so
to
easy.
make it different. That's Stephen Barb. But now, you see, Stephen, do you want to say something to the camera? Do you want to say something to the camera? It's a nice head of letters. Oh, where is Shirley? Oh, I want...
Okay. Having an
And your name is? Richard. Okay.
All right.
And this is, and should I say Artists' Rights Day? This is for Artists' Rights Day, and this is the first exhibition at 431, the West Broadway Gallery, which is a co-op gallery. And this whole thing has been happening for, well, probably over a year and a half now, slowly, more than that really, but it's been starting to materialize. Could you tell us what
I think painters and sculptors are fairly concerned as to what the future of their work is after it's left their studio.
You mean like an actor who makes a film and it shows on the Late Show and they don't get paid for it, something like that?
Yeah, I think it's the same situation.
But isn't it interesting how, it's really interesting how much more substantial it seems to be with with a piece of art. It's not like a Late Show at all, isn't it?
Just knowing that you treat me well has helped to keep my head up high. Now I can face the morning long, just knowing that you'll stop by. Excuse me.
He loves you. Oh, there you are. Well, you know each other.
Well, are we doing it all at the same time?
I feel like a heel, and it's kind of corny to say that I'm standing here with Sylvia Miles, but I'm standing here with Sylvia Miles. Sylvia?
Yes, Jackie. I don't usually appear on cable television. As a matter of fact, I don't even feel like I'm appearing now. I'm actually here because most of the artists in the show are friends of mine. Warhol, Rivers, Malcolm Morley, several others.
Yeah.
I don't really approve too much of cable television since the very few times I get paid in my life, you know, is when I do television interview. So, you know, true to the old spirit, one hates to give it away for nothing, you see. One's talent, which is part of what the show is all about today, right?
Yeah. This is good. No, really, I like what you're saying. But say a little more. Help me out. Because I don't usually do this either.
I know it's terrible to do this, but it's...
Yeah. Really, this is good of you. Because this is what I wanted them to say. And the way you're bringing it out is very good. I like the way you're bringing it out.
Literally or figuratively?
Oh, both. You look wonderful.
I feel pretty good, yeah.
I feel good. Imagine, but I mean it. But here we are, I'm standing here with a gun. It's like saying, all right.
Yeah. No, I'm serious. It's really kind of important because as an actress, I'm into, you know, when I do a commercial or something like that, I'm into getting paid a residual. It's the only way that somebody like I can live.
This before, yes.
Somebody like I can live who is essentially only interested in doing the kind of things I want to do, you know, artistically.
And then all of a sudden you have to do a supermarket voiceover.
Right. And if I don't get paid a residual for that, I can't live.
Right.
So that I can pick and choose the parts that I want to play and keep, you know, what we laughingly refer to as our artistic integrity.
Yeah. No, it's just a little black shirt says spots from the soot.
Really?
You don't want to get blackheads.
So, as I say, I'm making, for the first time, not that it's a big deal, an exception by appearing on video. Are we on?
Yeah, we're getting this. I like this. It's very underplayed. You're making an exception.
Because, you know, my life is my art and I don't want to give it away.
You're a witness. This is, I think this is lovely. Yes, isn't this a lovely lime green I've worked with these panties. This is David Bordone, wearing a very smart jacket. And this is Richard Bernstein, who's still making money off my face. And your name is? No, I like it because they know how to treat a girl. And what was your name?
Paul Hudson.
Paul Hudson?
Yes.
How do you do?
An actor.
Hi. Hi, he's an actor. He wants me to break up Peter Bogdanovich and Sybil Shepherd. What am I going to do? Play Scrabble with them? So now, tell me, what lies in the future?
For us?
For anyone. For you.
Good news.
Okay, what about
news.
us?
What about
First
us?
tell them about us. Anton, hey.
Not to be talked about yet.
But what about us?
Until the papers are signed.
Richard Bernstein.
Until we've dropped our legal contract. But it's good news. This is going to be something that reestablished Joan Crawford in the 40s. It's going to do the same thing for you in the 70s.
That woman.
Why?
Because we have the same initials.
Jesus Christ, you're right.
Right. And what should I say?
Well, I mean, as far as I'm concerned, I went to Mitch and Ruben Gurewitz because I thought it was a very worthwhile thing and I wanted to be part of it. And I think, honestly, that it's the most worthwhile thing I want to work on.
I was telling her, it's not like the actors in the 50s when they were striking already. The artists are not striking, they're still creating.
No, this is not a strike. This is a positive statement. Right.
They're not stopping.
No,
and I like that.
No, and it's
like
really
that.
to mostly
It's in motion.
to finally get to legislate, right?
I love it.
Well, I mean, it's always what I feel, from down here, that the artist has never had a chance to do anything or have anything done for them. So we're trying very hard to make everybody wake up to the fact that writers have everything and so on, and we need something for the artists, and the only way to do it is pull together and do it.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, we'll see you inside. We'll see you inside. Thank you. I know there are a bunch of artists. It's a concern that's going on. So what?
I find the galleries very interesting.
I'm not gonna be rude, but I'm gonna excuse myself. But it was lovely. It was lovely.
Yes.
She wants to talk to
They're
me. This
going
is
to
one of
cut
the
us
artists.
out.
No, they're not going to cut you out. They are not going to cut you out.
May I have
Ida. No, you're Ida.
I'd like
She's already very clear.
another auditioning without my
This is
curls
the
in my
ultimate
hair.
reassurance and the ultimate terror. They're not going to cut you out, Ida. Believe me. This is, they want you already. What did I say? Look in the camera for nothing. But I want to talk to one of the artists. Okay?
Go right
Thank
ahead.
you.
I enjoyed it
Thank
very
you.
much.
It's about putting forth the artist and the artist's role in this society in a way that, through the decades, has been overlooked.
You really spearheaded the superrealism movement. In the early 60s.
Yeah. Tell them something because I want to know. I'm serious.
I don't know what you mean by spearhead.
Whatever.
I think that you were working.
I made the first superrealist painting, is that what you mean?
I believe so, yeah.
Oh, the only superrealist painting.
The work that we see.
All the rest are imitations.
The work we see in here on the wall.
Go on, tell it.
Today,
Look at the camera.
To what extent has that work changed from the early?
Well, anyway, I don't think the point is to have an art criticism about my particular work, but rather the reason of why we're here today.
Right.
I guess we're here for a reason.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Do you know why?
Yeah,
Do you know why we're here today?
To bring some attention to the rights of artists after the work has left their studio.
The artist rights in terms of successful artists or all artist rights?
I think all artists' rights.
What do you think?
Well, I don't know, because
What do you think?
it seems to me that it's a very good idea of artists at the moment that say that are successful, that are selling work, that could use that spot, that occupy that spot for making a kind of a more structured event for other people later.
Right.
But right now, the only people that would really benefit are people that are successful artists.
Have you?
The unsuccessful artist is still going to stay.
Like
The idea of artist rights doesn't begin, until you're selling work.
You want to get an equity show, you have to belong to equity.
Yes.
And you can't be in equity unless you're in an equity show.
Yes, and then it gets to be it's going to be really interesting, because I see this as a way of another development of separating the chaff from the wheat.
Well, I tell you something. What do you think? These pioneers certainly have frontiers. They're not pioneers without frontiers. That's what you're saying, in essence, yes? Successful artists?
There's an automatic thing in terms of, I understand, cinema or theater or TV. Actors do commercials, they gather residues continuously.
Yes.
For example, I
I've been
sold a
saying
painting
this all-
for $500 about 7-10 years ago. and it's like sold in an auction house a few months ago for $60,000. And my new art, which is getting more difficult than the earlier art, you know, is very difficult to sell, in fact. Although it's better work in a certain way because it's newer work.
I like that, new art. I like that.
New art is always somehow, you know, okay. So I could see the French government already owe me 3% of the paintings that have been sold in the auction houses. But you try and find a system of collecting it. Yeah, you understand what I mean? You know, like, I'd have to get a barrage of lawyers suing the French government.
Why not just work with James Baldwin?
James Baldwin? Yeah. No, I'd prefer James Bond. I think that's the approach, the James Bond artist approach, you know? Kind of.
Well, there is no exact legal loophole that says that any of that revenue will come back to the artist.
They're doing very well.
From work being sold and resold.
Yes, but if one can establish it, though, as a reality that there is a group of artists in existence, even, in the culture, it would be already a sign that society was beginning to recognize that there was a relationship between the artist and society. But at the moment, there's a recognition of the relationship between, say, the actor and society, or the filmmaker and society, you know, or anybody else in society, a songwriter, even a rock and roll writer is protected, you know, by royalties, you know. The most mediocre, it doesn't matter. The great and the mediocre are equally protected, in a sense, you know. Because, you know, people selling antique cars, they sell with that antique car a pedigree of everybody that owned the car before. So there's been that kind of attention developing through the work. And the idea in this, I think, is to have a pedigree. If a painting is sold, it goes to a collector, it's sold again, the pedigree goes with it, that it's changed hands like an antique car, do you follow? Every time it's sold, the artist would sign that signature of that change, do you see? You're giving it a certificate of authenticity, in fact.
And that's making it more valuable.
What?
That's making it more valuable.
Not necessarily, because the value that's not what makes it valuable. What makes it valuable is its intrinsic nature. And the signing of it is only that representation of that value. Because I did a clever thing. I never signed any of my early works at all, which is rather wonderful. And I didn't know why then. I knew I couldn't bear to sign them because I said it would bear the aesthetic perfection of that photographic surface. So now, Janice, for example, came up to me and said, I bought a painting, 18 grand, I was told. He didn't tell me that I sold probably for $400 8 years ago. And he wanted it signed. So luckily, Ruben suggested it might be a decent gesture for you to give Malcolm a check. You know,
I thought you wrote for Esquire.
25. I'm a painter.
Now I know.
Yes, the super realist
That's what
Malcolm
I'm
Morley.
saying. That's why I wanted to know more about what was going on. I mean, it's what
you're
were
knowing
just
it.
saying. Yes, and that's
Sure,
why
you'll know
I
more if you keep.
I want to keep my ear. Yeah.
Okay. Fine.
Do you want to speak some about your painting in England at all?
Well, I don't want to personalize it. I'd rather keep talking about the idea of the artist and society and the relationship of that, rather than talking about my particular work.
Right.
Because that's another conversation.
Yeah.
He's good. This is good.
Because
very altruistic. When did you first become conscious of the fact that your work might be sold and resold?
You're not my president. You should be my president.
When it happened.
Then you
really?
Yes.
Did it start changing hands relatively early in your career?
It started changing hands very early, yes, because the new work was always threatening to the old work, so people got scared.
Yeah.
They thought, oh, Morley's gone crazy, let's get rid of that work, it couldn't be worth anything, right? And then they're always being caught wrong, off fucking guard, because I'm always putting them off guard.
Do
you understand how it works?
Yeah,
it's like the idea of... Well, we can't give all the secrets away, can we? No.
Do you wish to make some kind of comment on time spent on an actual work of art now versus 10 years ago?
You know that Whistler was sued by a lady for doing a portrait in 20 minutes. He charged her 20,000 guineas. So the English judge said, you mean to say, Mr. Whistler, you charged that lady 20,000 guineas for 20 minutes work? So Whistler said, no, my lord, for a lifetime's experience. Whenever we say Whistler, who else do we think of but his mum?
His mum, yeah.
He's one of the few artists that made his mum famous. Think about it.
I'm
the only artist who made his mother famous.
Yeah, well, what do you think about...
Except Liberace.
Yeah.
His mother got famous.
I think Andy's working... It's not working anymore.
She's anonymous. She's anonymous famous.
Anonymous.
She's not out in front like Mrs. Whistler.
No.
Mrs. Warhol. Imagine if Whistler was Warhol.
Yeah.
Warhol Whistler.
Right.
And it was
W.
Mrs. Whistler Warhol.
But what was Whistler's first name?
Incidentally, you fooled me for a moment. I thought we were not. I thought we were just playing around, and that thing
No,
was
we're
not
for
there.
real.
I think. Very good. We can't. This is really a scandalous conversation.
No, nobody's wearing sandals. What?
Nobody's
wearing sandals here.
I think this is probably a consciousness that's going to reach England and throughout the European.
No, that's better
art
than
market.
asking for cab fare and powder room change.
England is unreachable. Beyond reach.
My gosh, look!
I mean, really.
Look at the physique.
No, it's gently swelling.
If it's time to take shirts off.
Yeah, we're going to get Edward to speak. This is when the real show begins. Spoken already?
Yeah.
How'd it go?
Yeah. Fine. But he wants to, Anton.
What do you think this is? This is an aesthetic pornography, isn't it? Happening finally on West Broadway, hitting the streets. Wide open.
It's really coming to
Let
the
it
head
be.
here like a,
Let it roll in the streets.
it's not such a disgusting boil as it used to be.
You know, artist rights is going to lead to sexual liberation. You better watch out.
I think so, yeah.
And all that other kind of perverts.
About the reception here this afternoon.
Well, I really can't say words about the reception. I just am only anxious over one thing.
Right.
Will people buy it?
Right.
You know, because the whole idea is for the artist, you know, and it's not a social event, it's really an art event, and I hope that people understand that the art is the thing that we're looking for people to buy to protect the artist.
Right. I think it's a very positive idea.
I think so,
I think
too.
people are responding to it in a very positive way.
And that's what's good about it. I mean, it's not considered a frivolous thing. It is a very serious issue.
Yeah, I think that people are now more conscious of what actually happens with profit off fine art.
Right.
And how the artists themselves are treated when a kind of capitalistic snowball takes over when the work's left their studio.
Right. And I think that, you know, they always misunderstood what an artist was about. They felt, well, you know, he took his life and he decided to paint art, and that was enough. But that's not enough. You have a certain responsibility to upkeep a refrigerator, to upkeep this. You've enjoyed the painting, you know. Does it matter? I mean, there are two kinds of people. There are people who really collect, and there are investors. And you can always tell the difference between a collector and an investor. If the investor is the one who says, well, supposing the painting goes down in value and I still have to pay a royalty, then you say you're not a collector.
No, that's too bad.
Right.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, we hit against that a great deal.
I
But
think so.
I mean, if they understood that it's not wallpaper, which they spend thousands of dollars on, and they rip off in a few years, you know?
Exactly.
And it's worthless,
Exactly.
you know? And they just don't understand really how important this is if they would only put their head into the issue, right?
Yeah.
And I think the public, if they understood, would respond better. And that's why I think this is very important.
Do you think museums are the outlet for that?
Yes, because even Richard Oldenburg wrote a letter down to Washington saying that his amount of people coming in, artists themselves distributing to give to the museum, stopped because they couldn't get a tax reduction, and they were right.
Absolutely.
And he lost out because there aren't that many collectors around to give great works of art, and certainly the artist in giving one should have the same right, and so they stopped.
Do we have any politicians locally or in the federal government who are really aware of this problem?
Yes, because down in Washington we have Jack Javits working on it, John Bradames, and I'm going to go ask Elizabeth Holtzman if she can help us, you know.
Great.
And I'm going to try to interest as many people as I so we can legislate. That's the only important thing really at this point, is to legislate. Because we're never going to get any place if we don't start on that level.
Absolutely.
You know, just talk is fine, but if we can get it into the government.
I think this type of exhibition should take place in all the major cities throughout the country.
That's what we're hoping to do eventually. We'd like to make it in every country, and we'd like to make it international, and then we'd like forming a committee of very serious-minded people who believe in this, the total commitment of this, and go on as an ongoing thing. Don't stop as a one-time thing. This really must go, just like any legislation has to keep going. You know, you have to lobby, you have to do the whole thing, you do it.
What's happening?
What we're trying to do here today is raise funds for an artist organization called Artist Rights Today. We showed the same show in Washington just 4 days ago in the state.
How was that received?
Extremely well, in the State Educational Labor Committee room.
Great.
And it was a little get-together sponsored by Congressman John Bradames, who's the Deputy Whip of the House, Democrat, and Republican Senator Jacob Javits. who both introduced legislation to restore the contribution bill. I was instrumental in writing the basic program of that bill. Under the present law, if an artist wants to contribute an artwork, he can get only the cost of it. Unless he did it the year before, then he gets nothing. If, for example, if you were an artist and you did a work, it cost you $50 to put together, and it's worth $1,000, you can only get $50 off your tax return because that's what it costs you. But if I bought that work from you for $50 and it cost me $50 to buy it from you, I could still contribute it and get $1,000, the full fair market value. The other bills we're trying to put through here is this royalty bill, so that an artist will get 15% of any increase in profit on the sale of his art from the time he sold initially to the time it was sold in later years.
On each resale?
On each resale. For example, in 1953, de Kooning sold an artwork called Woman Number 5 for $3,000. In September of '74, it was sold by Richard Gray to Australia Museum, Canberra Museum, for $850,000, and de Kooning did not get a penny for that. And the same thing with the famous skull auction that took place, as most of you have read about, where a skull bought an artwork from Robert Rauschenberg for $850 and sold it for $90,000, and Bob Rauschenberg did not get a penny in any of those royalties, as well as many other artists of that time.
Have you actually run into artists who are in opposition to your movement for any reason?
There's very, very few. It's a very small minority of artists that are against it.
What about all of the collectors who buy a piece for $100 or $400 or $500 or $600, and 2 years later, the pieces, insofar as the collector can't resell the piece for what he paid for it or anywhere near? And I really think that to a great degree, it's a kind of a dual gamble on the part of the artist and the collector.
But I didn't know what this was all about. Do you know what this is all about?
No, what it's about
like Ethel's Skull had something to do with it.
Ethel's Skull and Ruben Gorowitz and Midge, who runs this gallery. It's apparently a benefit designed to publicize the artists' rights movement, and which is all about trying to work out some system to enable artists to get royalties or some share of the profits on the resale of their work, if their work resells at a profit.
Thanks a
lot.
lot.
We'll keep talking. Anton, hand away.
Here we are.
Anna Wilkie. Just in
Here we are.
Anna Wilkie. Just in case you forget. You got it? Okay. Tree. You hear that? Tree. You have tree. There's no microphone. Can you hear me? Okay. Tree. My cunt. My cunt. You gotta come back again, honey, 'cause I'm gonna kill you. Okay? My country, 'tis of the sweet land of liberty, of the I sing. Land where my fathers died, land of the pilgrim's pride, from every mountainside, let freedom ring. My country, 'tis of the sweet land of liberty. My cunt. My country. Hi, Hannah Cunt. Let freedom ring. Attack. Attack. My country. I see. How are you? Now I'm all right.
Are you sure?
Adrian Milton.
Adrian Milton, also
one of the
New York
silent
artist.
Warhol stars. from the old days. Why don't
And
you
I
tell
grew
them
out
the
of a
film?
palm
Go on,
tree.
tell them.
You get in the middle, Jackie.
What about
Your
growing out of
story.
tell my story about
Not
growing out of a
everyone
palm
wants to
tree?
know you.
Well, basically, when I was 12 years old, I had a vision of pink and green, which was an explosion, which is a continuation.
AM New York. Adrian Milton, New York. And this is Diva, but tell him, go on, so you grew out of a palm tree. Now, come on, Adrian.
No, darling,
Yeah, the
never
palm
mind.
tree is a terrific story.
Adrian, tell the story.
All right.
The
No,
pink and
I was
green.
basically Richard Merkin. When I saw him in his pink and green, I'm following through with what I've just been on. He has inspired me because pink and green are vulva and creation. And in seeing him, well, that camera's not on, is it?
Yeah,
Yes,
absolutely.
it is. This is the good night speed.
Good night. Good night. Good night, America. Good night,
This
art.
is the riddle from
Eat
Jordan
art.
Joe.
Buy art.
Let's get back to the palm tree.
Come on, back to the palm
It's a terrific
tree.
Well, I
story.
grew out of a palm tree.
Because
Like
you're ready.
Venus grew out of a half shell, I grew out of a palm tree. I've been pushing them, I've been cutting them, I've been clipping them.
Absolutely.
So,
We're coming to you from the dark side of the moon here. What?
Hi.
Oh, yes.
On behalf of John Chamberlain, I'd like to say the show is all right. It was a little tacky, but I think that the pieces are very terrific.
Quite a fantastic afternoon. So, don't you think-
yeah, of course, my dear.
I mean, I adore it.
Yeah.
You know, it's so refreshing and amusing.
Candace, viens, parler un peu français. On va parler français. En français seulement.
Give me a candle.
oh, with Gerard. No, that's not Gerard. What's your friend Michel?
Michel, yeah.
Michel quoi?
Odell.
Oh, that's Michel Day? Oh, Viva. And he had a picnic once years ago and I didn't recognize him because he looks different now. I'll have to remind him. Oh, I saved her. Because my brother Charles, who for years used to just keep the TV on and then he'd go over and he'd kick it or do something to fuck it up, right? And he'd say, so we could be stoned and look at the TV, you know, because the program, the subject, the talk, what they're saying was never of any interest. Madame, she does look pretty. She's a very sexy lady, you know that? I think Mrs. Skull is a very sexy lady. Myself, I love the colors. Oh, those colors. Oh, those colors. Now, I can't get those out of a tube. When I paint, I can't get that color out of a tube. I've been experimenting with adding quicksilver to my paint, right? But chemically, they don't match. So now I'm trying something else. And I'm having a chemist. I have a chemist uptown who's working with me on this problem. Oh, color is a basic reason for living. Color, why? I'm going to give Marie my black and white TV set. She can have it. I gave it to her while her mother was there. I'm not having TV again until I have a color TV. But I don't like what they put on TV. I like the TV, but I like TV and I like the dots, but I don't like the programs. Do you understand me?
Yeah.
I mean, that, right. The way you can make that building disappear, that's to me TV.